What's up, my PT peeps? One-Eye Bri back to do a Walking Dead discussion, talk about Rosita Espinosa and will she die on the show. Spoiler warnings if you don't know the comics or anything like that, because we're going to talk about going forward what may or may not occur on the show and what is most likely to occur based on the comic stuff. But spoiler warning if you don't want to know. We will reference the comicbook.com article right there. Put the link in the description as well. It's a pretty good article. But getting a job as an actor on The Walking Dead means very little in terms of security. While the actors move their lives to Atlanta, many of them only stay involved with the show for a few years at best. Just ask Michael Cutlass, Scott Wilson, or Emily Kinney. Most of the actors can do a little research to get an idea of when their characters will die though. Like in the comic, they can read up on death issues or whatever. But Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead comic lays the fate of most characters well ahead of their deaths on the AMC series. While they are not always accurate, the graphic novels set ominous expectations for several characters, such as Spencer Monroe heading into 704. Now, I don't think Spencer dies in 704, but it'll set the groundwork for later on down to season 7. But let's look at some evidence of that. In the comic, Tyrese dies by the governor. Herschel gets his death. Tyrese died a couple episodes later. Denise gets the arrow like Abraham. Abraham still dies by Negan's bat this time, different way. But the characters' deaths are kind of swapped out, but eventually that character dies. Now, I believe Spencer's death in the comic will happen, just not in 7-4. I think it'll happen around the mid-season premiere or even the mid-season opening of second part of season 7. While her character's death is still a long way down the line in terms of comparing the Walking Dead series to the comic books, Rosita actor Christian Serratos she thinks it is acceptable to swap character deaths in order to preserve the lifespan of others. And I agree with that. I think the show needs to differ from the comic and vice versa, and it makes more sense of how things are done on the show versus in the comics. And you can draw stuff way easier in a comic book than you can actually portray it on a TV show. But Christian Serratos, we'll see what happens if they're going to mix up her death or not in the comics. But no, not necessarily, Serratos said. I think all of these characters have such incredible deaths, and I think that yes, you do feel a sense of possession. That is my death. Nobody can have it. However, there are some incredible deaths, like Abraham's in the comic book was given to Denise's character on the show. It was amazing. A lot of the deaths have been flip-flopped, and that goes along with how amazing Scott Gimple is at staying true to the comic book while still keeping people on their toes. Whatever death I get, I know it's not going to come lightly. It's going to have been very thought out, and it'll be exactly the death I was meant to have. And that's how it is true on the show. I mean, they do stuff for a reason. So here's her death in the comics. Now, we don't actually see it. We just see her head on a spike, on a pike, on a whatever. Her head, she is decapitated, still alive as a walker head until Andrea stabs her in the head and takes her out. They go down the line. So we don't actually get to see her death, but it introduces a whole new group that will definitely and needs to come to the show. Rosita's death came well after the war with Negan in the comic books, but was one of the most shocking moments in Walking Dead history. Along with Ezekiel and several other citizens of Alexandria, her head ended up on a spike, marking the territory of the Whisperers, a group which Rick is still at war with in the most recent issues. So if, and probably when it happens, it won't happen for a while because we still have to get to the war with Negan, but it will introduce the Whisperers. And for those who don't know the Whisperers, definitely need to check out the comics because they are terrible, great, awesome, a good villain, bad group, whatever, all things together. That's an iconic comic book shot. I just love that, of all the different people that the Whisperers took out. We see to the right Rosita and Ezekiel. So we'll see if it plays out like that on the show. Are the Whisperers coming? When are the Whisperers coming? We made a whole video about that. And only time will tell what happens to the cast when the Whisperers come to town. Is that possibly who Morgan was talking about back in season 3? Only time will tell. Can't wait to see how it goes down. But it is kind of interesting that Morgan would say those words out of anything. He was crazy at the time and different than Morgan now, but we'll see. Is it the early aspects of the Whisperers coming to the show? I think it will happen. I think Rosita and the Ezekiel and the people will die like this, but we'll see how it goes down. There you go, guys. Like, share, subscribe to get more videos. You guys are awesome, and thank you for watching.